To me, it wasn't really clear where this Clayface movie was going to go, but now the writer for their project, Mike Flanagan, has revealed his favorite source of inspiration, and my expectations for this project went absolutely through the roof because, honestly, it's what everybody loves. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about what Flanagan said, what his source for inspiration was, and why you should expect a very fantastical version of this character. Well, way back in December of 2024, we heard that Clayface was going to be coming our way from DC Studios. The report indicated that Mike Flanagan had wrote a script that gave James Gunn a ton of positive vibes, and they gave it a September 11th, 2026 release date. Now, many fans were completely surprised like I was. To be fair, at the time, there were a ton of rumors circulating that Clayface was going to be the main villain, or at least a villain in the Batman Part 2. And at first, many people were wondering if this Clayface movie could be associated with that. Now, additionally, there still hasn't been an actor picked up by James Gunn to play Batman in the new DCU. We know Batman is supposed to be getting his own movie with The Brave and the Bold, which will be directed by The Flash's Andy Muschietti, but even to this day, that movie still doesn't have a script, doesn't have a release date, and doesn't have someone cast as the Batman. So when this Clayface announcement came out, we were all completely caught by surprise, and left with a ton of questions. Now, infamously, studios, and particularly when it comes to movies that generate a lot of public hype like superhero projects, they try to keep the cards close to the chest and not reveal too much, and that was what was going on from DC Studios. But now Mike Flanagan actually sat down with comicbook.com and talked about the project, and more importantly, what his inspiration for the film was. Now, when asked directly if Batman the Animated Series was the source of his inspiration, particularly that two-part episode called Feet of Clay, Flanagan had this to say, quote, "Of course it was. I mean, that is the perfect story. Feet of Clay, Ron Perlman, to me, that's it. That two-parter knocked me out. The short answer is that is absolutely what inspired my script. That is the world I want to live in. Batman the Animated Series, when I was growing up, was my Batman as much as Michael Keaton was my Batman. The animated series really was my Batman." Now, if you remember correctly, James Gunn did tell us early on they were really looking at some of the animated projects that so many generations had fallen in love with as inspiration for a lot of these characters. So to hear that Flanagan basically looked to that for inspiration, that gives me a ton of hope for what DC Studios is doing behind the scenes. Honestly, Perlman playing the character in that double episode, well, I rewatched it shortly after this announcement, and it's one of the best Batman the Animated Series two-parters and brings the character to life in the way I absolutely want to on the big screen, so it sounds like that will indeed be the version we're getting with all the nuance that came with that two-parter. Now, as far as the Clayface film goes, well, he did speak to that a little bit, and this is where I got a little bit cagey. When asked about the project, he said, "I don't know what they're doing with Clayface. I'm not directing it, and that filmmaker will need to make it their own story. I know that they're doing work on the script. I'm off doing other things now. I really hope it remains true to the spirit of what I wanted it to be, but it's not my movie. So I'll be in the audience with you, anxious to see how it comes out." Now, it isn't unusual to have other people kind of work and update scripts as a project is developed, but honestly, James Gunn cheerleaded this script when it came out, so I am a little bit surprised they're still doing more work on it. Hassine Amini, who worked on Obi-Wan and Drive, is doing some touch-ups to the script and reworking parts of it, and the film is supposed to start shooting in October of this year. Now, to be fair, DC movies have been plagued with delays, and that comes on the heels of Superman being released, which I think, honestly, as I've said many times, is going to dictate the future of the DCU. Superman's a big hit. Not only do I think Clayface goes right into production, I think within this project we find out who the new Batman is going to be, even if it's just in the form of a cameo. Now, honestly, I like Clayface, I like what they're doing here, and I really hope this works, but I am a little concerned it's been passed on to other people and he doesn't have a direct update. But if he's doing work for other studios and signed NDAs, I really wouldn't expect him to be too chatty. So until we know more, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Batman animated series Feet of Clay being the large inspiration for the Clayface movie? And who do you want to play Matt Hagen in the upcoming film? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Before we take off, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC news, and we want to bring you all the news truthfully and transparently so you're really in the know.